Mr. Happy Living here, and I'm happy to be broadcasting from WYTV7 in the beautiful Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina. I love entrepreneurs and Olympic gold medalists and performance coaches and whitewater experts and people from every walk of life that have discovered their reason for being on this planet. And that's why I love Joe Jacobi. He's all those things, and he's the owner of 5 with Joe Performance Coaching. He utilizes his Olympic gold medal performance strategies and 40 years of navigating whitewater river rapids to help his clients streamline decision-making and actions when engaged in the complicated river currents of business and life. Hey, Joe, welcome back to the Something Significant show.
Matt, it's so good to see you again. I'm super excited to be here.
Awesome. So just tell us, what are you doing these days? Get us caught up. What are you doing to leave your mark of significance on the world?
Oh, well, I love the question. I think so often, I think one of the first things I think about with significance, Matt, is that how are we preparing ourselves day to day from a standpoint of capacity and energy to be at our best. And so I don't know. I really kind of draw upon the little things that I do every day. I have a morning. Most of my clients are based in the United States, which means here in Europe, I'm usually about anywhere from 6 to 9 hours time zones ahead of my clients, which opens up my mornings a lot, which is great. I have a great routine that involves a little bit of meditation, a little bit of yoga, some writing, some running, and just some time to slow down. But I suppose on the significant side is that it's using all of those things that really are important to me, my relationships, creativity, my health, to kind of help others bring focus to what matters most. I think I see that with the athletes that train outside my window on the 1992 Olympic course. And I see that with the clients that I work with that, you know, whether they're doctors or sales leaders, and they've been kind of going at this for a long time. And it's just, maybe they just want something simply significant, like being more present with their children when they walk in the door at night.
Yeah. Less is more, definitely. We're so busy these days. And I recently was talking about the quote from Michelangelo, that the statue is already there before he even starts anything with the chisel. You just got to chisel away the stuff that doesn't fit anymore.
I love that idea of like subtracting, to actually not adding, but subtracting to kind of make it all work out. I love that point of it. And yeah, but so it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of vision to kind of not deciding really just what you want to do that's significant, but what are the obstacles that are getting in the way of it? Like, what's the friction? What's the resistance? What's the negativity? What's getting in the way of making that happen? And it's like, we have to reduce those and subtract those to kind of figure out what the essence and the core is really all about.
Okay, so that's perfect. Take us back in time to your decision to leave the United States and set up your permanent home in Spain, and how that fits in with what we're just talking about, because I think it's a direct connection.
Yeah, so let's actually go back a little bit before that move as well. So, I mean, I've been living here in the Spanish state of Catalonia for 3.5 years now, and I love it. Mm-hmm. But let's actually go back to the summer of 1991, which was my first time coming to La Salle d'Urgell. I was 21 years old. I was doing really well in my career as an elite athlete on the U.S. national team. And every year before the Olympics, like typically 1 year before the Olympics, there's a test event. And this is an opportunity for the athletes to learn the river they're going to be competing on at the Olympics, but it's also a test for the organizers as well, to test the timing system, to test the spectator operations, the fan experience, the officials, all the elements that make the Olympic competition. So that particular summer in 1991, we had, the sport is really, the competitive side of canoeing is anchored here in Europe. The recreational side is anchored right around where you live in the Charlotte area in Western North Carolina, but the competitive side is anchored here. And so one of the things, we have all these World Cup races and we were traveling around, and it's great, but you're living out of a duffel bag. You're kind of getting worn down. You've been in Europe for 6 or 7 weeks. You can't just make a quick trip home to get a home cooked meal, say hello to your family, and, and get your laundry done like a lot of my European competitors could. But I remember arriving in La Salle d'Urgell the very first night, Matt, and you've been here, you know what an amazing place it is. And I just remember finally, after an all-day drive from northern France into the northern Spain where we are, getting checked into my hotel room. I drop the duffel bag on the floor and I kind of fall back on the bed. And about a minute later, I sit back up, and it was just an epiphany. I just had this epiphany that I didn't want to wake up in the Olympic Village a year later feeling like a visitor in the Olympic Village. Like, I wanted to feel like I belonged here. And like that, just in the snap of a finger, it's like something just changed for me. I knew that we needed to get better at paddling the course and learning the river here, but that also meant really forming a connection with the people and the culture of La Salle d'Urgell and the Catalan culture. And that just became really important. Like, I didn't want to feel like I was living out of a duffel bag anymore. Like, I wanted that sense of belonging. And that really kind of got all of this started, really to your question about how I ended up here. And so over the next 100 days between that summer of 1991 and then the Olympics in 1992, we spent almost a third of the year training here, and we made a lot of friendships. We broke bread with a lot of people here. We kind of got familiar with the language and the culture and the customs and the spirit of life, and loved it. And even on the day of the Olympic Games, when I woke up in the Olympic Village, like, I sort of felt like a box had been checked. Like, I felt a sense of belonging here. Mm-hmm. And so winning the Olympics was just, that just took that feeling and exponentially is an exponent of 100. It just really enrooted and kind of deepened the roots here. So later in my life, when I had an opportunity to make a quality of life move, La Salle seemed like a good place. I didn't come here to relive any memories, to relive the good old days. I came here to learn something new and to really fire up my brain, a different culture, a different language, different activities. And it's been great. That's really what it was for me, about really keeping my brain sharp and learning new things and appreciating a new culture.
Okay, so let's share with the audience, give us a line or two in Spanish, and let's see how good you're doing.
Well, I can say, bon dia, els meus amics. ¿Qué tal? It's the tres dia de la primavera, the third day of spring or fourth day of spring. And sí, som-hi, let's go. Life is good.
Life is good, I agree. Okay, Joe, I define significance as, doing things you love, in places you love, with people you love, and creating something of value for others. It's doing and it's giving, but you can't give from an empty cup. So you talked a little bit about your morning practices, but dig in a little deeper. What are your personal practices, physical, mental, spiritual, financial, emotional? What are the things you do to fill your cup up, take care of yourself and your family, and still have more to give to others?
Yeah, I just love that question. So Matt, I think one of the things as I talk about this, I sort of just want to say up front that, I did an exercise around the start of the new year where I participated in a friend's 10-day systems challenge. And it was kind of a Slack-based systems challenge. And one of the things was we talked about morning routine. There were a couple hundred tech people on this particular Slack group. And it was a fascinating look into morning routines and really the question that you're just asking. Number one, I was just amazed how brutally honest people were in the tech world, that were just picking up the phone first thing in the morning and checking email and seeing what come in, any fires to put out. That's always hard. But then the second thing that I was really impressed about was how thoughtful they were about the next hour or two of their day after that, in what they were doing to fill their cup, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And as I answer this question for you, Matt, I always say that because I think this can be a very intimidating topic for a lot of people. They hear about morning routines and winning the morning and people waking up 2 or 3 hours earlier to, do all these things for themselves. And look, you and I know young moms that are trying to get kids out the door to go to school, and there's just no way that they're getting up 2 or 3 hours earlier to take care of themselves. It just, life isn't working for them at this moment in life like that. And so I just want to start by saying that if you just have 5 minutes, just 5 minutes to just tune out the voices of others and tune into your own voice, that will do the trick if you can do that every day. And if you just want to know one thing you can do with those 5 minutes, I would drink. And let me tell you, I was a disaster at one point in my life where I was checking phones and turning on email and social media and the TV and all these things. Before you do anything, drink a glass of water, pull out a journal, paper or pencil, and answer 3 questions, just 3 questions. Question number 1. What is the focus of my, what's the outlook for my day? What are the overarching themes of my day that I sort of want to live up to? Question 2, what's the focus of my relationships? Not just like a list of people you're going to talk to, but a way of putting intention into the people that you might be interacting with earlier in the day. Like you were on my focus of relationships today while you were sleeping. I was thinking about you and this conversation. And number 3, for what am I grateful? And you find different ways to answer those 3 questions. It'll take 5 minutes, the water and 3 questions on paper and pencil. Then go about your day. Go back to what you were doing before. But what my hunch is that if you do answer those 3 questions, you do 5 minutes of tuning into your analog voice, your own voice.
Yeah.
And then you go about your day. What you'll find is that over time, you'll start to build out a bigger practice that gets into more, not just your physical health or your emotional health, but your mental health, your spiritual health. And you can expand upon these things very, very slowly, where 5 minutes becomes 10 minutes, maybe a few weeks later, 10 minutes becomes 15. And this adds up to significant time over the week.
That's good advice. And it's my favorite word. Small incremental improvements add up over time to yield big results. It's Kaizen.
Yeah.
Wonderful, Joe. Well, let's take a commercial break because I want to tell everybody about 3 things. A brand new online course called The Philosophy of You and Your Inspired Life, how it helps people discover their purpose and design the life they were meant to live, and how to save $100 with every enrollment and support a great big donation to WYTV7 too. Mr. Happy Living here. I love good things made for good people. That's why I love Happy Living's online e-course. It's an 8-week-long deep dive into you and the inspired life you want to live. The life you were put here on this earth to live. The one that you and only you can live. 8 weeks of lectures and ideas and topics and supporting materials and powerful self-improvement tools. All designed for you. All designed to help you create the tools and the power and the confidence you need to discover your purpose and to discover the life you were meant to live and to feel incredibly inspired and motivated to decide you will live your life to its fullest. It's all designed to help you create the unique and distinct philosophy of you and your inspired life. Go to happyliving.com, select our e-course, and save $100 with promo code WYTV7. And for every enrollment, I'll donate another $100 to WYTV7. For $300 and about 30 hours, I promise you'll never, ever be the same again. And we're back. And this is something significant. And I'm Matt Gersper. Hey, friends, we've created an e-course, brand new online e-course to help you move 15 inches. Yes, just 15 inches. We created the philosophy of you and your inspired life to move you 15 inches out of your head and into your heart. And we're ready to begin 8 weeks of working on you and the life you are meant to live. And right now, I'm ready to get back to my inspiring guest, Joe Jacobi. Joe and his partner won America's first ever Olympic gold medal in whitewater canoe slalom. And now he lives right above the course where he won his gold medal. And he'll write from there every Sunday to you if you sign up for his Sunday Morning Joe email. One of his readers said, "Your Sunday Morning Joe email helps me to see that at every age, people come to a crossroads and are open to input." He says, "Your path is crossing mine at exactly the right time." So Joe, tell our listeners how they could sign up for your Sunday Morning Joe.
Thank you, Matt. I absolutely love writing Sunday Morning Joe, and I'm always thinking of ways just to think about improving performance, overcoming obstacles, working with obstacles, and aligning with purpose. So Sunday Morning Joe is just kind of my kind of soft way of putting my ideas out into the world and things I'm thinking about. They can sign up by going to joejacobi.com, joejacobi.com. There's nothing on that website except for 2 boxes to click. You click on Sunday Morning Joe and it'll take you right to the sign up. It's free. And right now I've been writing about consistently about a series of lessons I've been learning on the river. I call it the pursuit of contentment on the river of uncertainty. And this has been the most fun writing project I've ever been involved with. I've laid it out very sequentially through the weeks, and I hope when I'm finished that there'll be a nice little writing project to kind of put all these things together with. So I'm enjoying it and getting a really good response from people.
Very good. Folks, you'll love it. Get signed up. Okay, Joe. So my second book, is all about crossroads and transformation. Turning inspiration into action explores the idea that big transformations and discovery of purpose often comes from devastation. Addictions, disease, death, disaster, some crisis shakes a life. But I've used a happier way and discovered my path to purpose with inspiration. So what about you? Is there a moment of devastation or inspiration that revealed to you the purpose you were meant to live?
Oh, it's a great question. I feel like there were many. I think one story that has come up a lot for me over the last couple of days, about a year and a half prior to the 1992 Olympic race, I was out running a river, the Tellico River in southeastern Tennessee with a friend. And it was a late December afternoon. It was a warm day, a lot like today. It was probably, about 60 degrees out. And I paddled over about a 6-foot drop, and then I tipped upstream into the waterfall, and I dislocated my shoulder. And then pretty much everything that could have gone wrong after that, Matt, did go wrong. The biggest thing is that when I swam out of the boat and just the river pushed me to the right side of the river, and we were already in a very remote area, but the dirt road was on the left side of the river, which made getting me out of there a lot harder. It was getting cold, it was getting dark, but my shoulder was out of its socket for 5 hours before it got reset, at a small rural hospital in the middle of nowhere. And what I remember feeling about that was, beyond pain and shock, is that I remember just the feeling of letting my doubles canoe partner down, Scott. That running rivers is a part of what we do. It's nothing is guaranteed. It's like what I was talking about. We are all navigating the river of uncertainty, and there is uncertainty in our lives. But at the same point, you just feel like you've let down your teammate, and so that ended up being in the long run a really good experience. I think that when we are hurt, it's like when we repair a kayak, when there's a crack in the kayak. Typically, when you put the repair over the crack in the kayak, is that you actually strengthen where the crack was. It's stronger than it was before. What you got to be careful of is that sometimes the stronger part of the crack the edges of the patch, reveal some new weak points, which just means that there's more work to do, that there's always little things that you can be doing to improve yourself. And the same thing when you're rehabbing like a bad shoulder. It's not that it's hard, but it's very tedious and repetitive. And I do remember that when we came back from that injury and started to paddle again at the spring of 1991, the U.S. whitewater team head coach pulled us aside and said, look, there's only one thing you guys have to do for the next 12 months. You need to stay healthy. Mm-hmm. You cannot afford any more injuries. That's it. And so, yeah, I think that the lessons that you learn from that, and, in the end, it worked. That's a whole, there were a lot of things that happened in those 12 months, but it worked. And so I always think about that, those little things. But you're absolutely right, is that it's so hard to get perspective on those pain points in the moment. But as we get older, as we get a little bit wiser to life, hopefully we begin to see those pain points a little bit differently than when we're 21 years old.
Yeah, very good. Okay, we've talked about capacity and purpose, and those are important. But the real magic of life comes from adding that fourth element of significance, creating something of value for others. Yeah. And that's the happy formula. Capacity plus purpose plus giving equals really, truly, deeply happy. Because it's not just the giving that's magical, it's giving from living in your purpose. So how does it make you feel when a reader of your weekly email or a performance coaching client tells you that you've helped them to slow down, to get outside that day-to-day rush, to think clearly and simply, and to bring into focus what really matters most to them? When you make that kind of impact, how does it make you feel as the giver?
Well, it's amazing. I think when you say that, like you always you say it more beautifully than I even process it. But I also think, Matt, that what I do is I feel like what I'm giving, what I'm sharing, whether it's elements of the culture and spirit of the Catalan people or these lessons from the river, it's still this very connected gift. It's something that so many people have their hands on. There are coaches, and there's your parents and your brothers, and it's just all kinds of people, that teachers and mentors and your colleagues at work. There are all these things that contribute to the things that you want to give out to the world, so that there's this really beautiful connection about it all. I do think that, I know everyone kind of has their centering point, what brings us all together. Nature is a really big one for me. And I think that nature is one of the things I think about that at this stage of my life. And I'm writing about this in a current Sunday Morning Joe post about Payson Kennedy, the founder of the Nanahill Outdoor Center in Western North Carolina, that nature is not just this static space where we go to disconnect. It can be, but I think as you evolve your relationship with nature, I think Kyle would agree with this too, with his relationship with the water and kayaking and paddle sports as well, is that it's this moving, changing relationship, just like with a person. Like nature, it's like you get out of nature what you put into it. Yep. It's not just like this room that we go into. Like you may think it is at one point, but as you evolve that, you deepen that relationship with nature and the gift that it gives back to you, that hopefully that you put back out into the world. Nature is its own relationship, and I think treating it that way as its own living, breathing, changing force is a really important part of it all for me.
Yeah, very good. So you mentioned the nature, and that's great. And you mentioned insecurity of the river.
Yeah.
That'll take us into our rapid fire round of quotes. And one I hadn't prepared for you, but I have right here from Helen Keller. So just first thing comes to mind, what does this mean to you? She says, security is mostly superstition. It does not exist in nature.
Yeah, I think that I believe that somewhere along the way, when we as humans decided to inhabit these bodies and these lives that we have today, we kind of made this deal that the human brain is going to come with us all the way through the journey until the journey is over. And I think as long as we have this human brain, like I think the deal is that it's going to tell you like it wants safety and security. And then it's like there's this other sense of energy that we try to get in touch with as we get older that just says that we can chase that, we can desire that, we can want it, but it's not, you can't. How can you? I mean, how can we live in the year that we just lived and possibly think that there's like a true sense of safety? And I think that once you sort of begin to make peace with that, doesn't mean that we aren't going to feel discomfort and pain along the way, but there can be an immense freedom that really goes along with that Helen Keller quote.
You said it great. That's the 15 inches out of your head, your heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you said it pretty well too with the 15 inches. It's a great way of framing it.
So I'm working on my pronunciation from Heraclitus, I think it is. No man ever steps into the same river twice, for it's not the same river and he's not the same man.
Yeah, I am familiar with this one as well. And I love that. I think that let's just sort of focus on the water part of that, is that the reality is that the water is always going by and the water is always changing. And I think one of the things that's showing up at the same river every day is that you don't go to see something familiar, you go to see what's different. And to that end, I think the other thing that I often think about these days, Matt, is not just the water that is in front of me, but I do a lot of what I call upstream thinking. Like, what are the rocks in the river formation doing a little bit upstream out of sight from where I am that is affecting the water that I'm looking at where I am? And that if I actually just walk upstream on the riverbank, 50, 100 yards, that I actually might find something. It gives me almost like a map or a key or just a path that makes me understand the water that I've been looking at every day by just walking 50 or 100 yards upstream on the river. And again, maybe that's the different person that shows up at the river every day that's willing to go upstream and take a look at, what's affecting the water where I am. There's always an upstream element to it.
And then when you're doing that, so now you know something a little bit more and you've got a plan in place, but still the river is going to take you where the river is going to take you. And so that's part of the adaptation we have to bring to life, right? We can plan everything out, but it's not going to work the way it's planned. It never does.
I think and I'll be writing about this in the Sunday Morning Joe Post in a few weeks. The 1992 Olympics so we're coming up, not yet, but it's coming close to 30 years. And something I have never said, and you'll never hear me say in those 30 years, we were not the best, we were not the fastest, we were not the strongest, none of those things. The only reason I believe that we won the Olympic Games is that it were two things. We corrected mistakes better than the other boats, and we anticipated mistakes a little bit before they happened better than the other boats. And I just think that's really what we're doing when we're paddling a river. It's this moving, changing force of nature. And what you're really doing is that you're adapting to change with little course corrections all the time. And one of my favorite things to do, I do a strategic planning session sometimes with organizations where I show our Olympic run. And the first time I show it, it's really nice for credibility to show, hey, that's me winning the Olympic Games. But then I sort of go through this river hydrology 101, how a river works and really how to navigate water and how to course correct. So this is like a breakout session on course correction. Then we watch the Olympic run a second time. And this is where it gets really interesting. I tell the group, you're complete strangers to whitewater canoeing, but show me the 5 mistakes that we made on this run. And they do this. And I said, you probably don't remember that this is the same run that won the Olympic Games. And you've never seen the sport before, and you just found 5 mistakes. And the only reason that we're standing here having this conversation today is because we corrected those mistakes well. And it's so I think it's not just like we're out on a Sunday paddle correcting mistakes well, but I am like living proof that if you are attentive to course correction, that it can literally make the difference between a gold medal and a silver medal, or a medal or no medal on the world's biggest stage.
And that's a great way to end it, because if you're making those small course corrections on that short course, imagine what it is when you keep combining course corrections over the course of your whole lifetime.
Love it. Love it.
Great answers, Joe. And now, folks, will you help me show some love to our wonderful broadcast host? If you can hear my voice and you were inspired by today's show with Joe Jacobi, please donate what you can to WYTV7. They're a 501c3 charity on a mission to educate, empower, and encourage. They do good works with your kindness. So, Joe, I love how you're continually working to distill the complexities of life into simple, easy to understand, step-by-step processes, and then how you live them yourself to test them and to model them for others too. And then how you write about them every week and share them broadly and freely with anyone who's looking to get unstuck and begin taking small steps forward every day. And then you roll them all up into full-blown coaching programs to help leaders and teams perform their best without compromise. So thank you, my friend. You're a treasure, and I appreciate you for sharing your wisdom with us today.
I always enjoy our conversations, Matt. Thank you so much, and bon dia.
Why don't you take a minute or two and share any parting remarks you'd like to give to the audience?
Well, listen, I think one of the biggest things that I'm seeing in a year in which my coaching practice has grown so much, and I've had the opportunity to work with world-class doctors and sales leaders and technology leaders, please, we cannot make change. We cannot do the things we want to do unless we are first kind and gentle with ourselves. We are never going to meet anyone else who is as hard on us as we are on ourselves. And if you can just find that little bit of self-awareness to just question whether you need to be this hard on yourself, and you can maybe shift that into being just a little kinder and gentler with yourself. I just cannot think of better advice that just meets high-level performers or people that just need like an actionable first step.
Beautiful. Another off-script quote from Adyashanti, which you just talked about. A total acceptance of yourself brings about a total transcendence of yourself. Why don't we just accept ourselves?
We did make this agreement to take these brains along on the journey with us.
Gotcha.
This is the human condition, my friend.
That's it. Okay, and thank you, WYTV7, for hosting and promoting our show so we can keep interviewing inspiring guests like Joe and keep reaching folks out there ready to create their own extraordinary lives. A special thank you to our sponsors for the month of April, The Philosophy of You and Your Inspired Life, and Happy Living. Remember, I'll donate $100 for each and every enrollment for the entire month to WYTV7. So tell all your friends too. Just go to happyliving.com, select our e-course, and enroll today as if your absolute best life depends on it. And most especially, thank you, viewers and listeners. You'll find links to websites and social media and all things Joe Jacobi. Find him, friend him, sign up for Sunday Morning Joe, or take his simple 3-step process. Schedule a call with him, review and edit your customized performance plan, and then work through your plan together with Joe to ensure you're doing the right things at the right time and for the right reasons. And from me to you, my dear friends, I love you and I want you to be happy. We do what we do on the Something Significant show to inspire you to live your life to its fullest, to believe as I do, and I know Joe does, that a better self is always possible today and every day for the rest of our lives. That inspired life that you've been dreaming about, it's yours to take, but it takes bold action. You gotta get on with it and start moving along your path, the special one to your dream, your unique and distinctive journey, because that's where you're gonna make your mark of significance on the world. Till next time, I'm Matt Gersper. You are awesome. And this is the Something Significant Show. And we're out.